From Street Fighter to Marvel vs. Capcom, the fighting game community has endured for decades on the backs of its die-hard fans and competitors. The humble days of arcade tournaments are gone. Now, the titans of the game duke it out for glory and riches at massive international tournaments.
When I first started playing fighting games, it was at my local arcade called Chinatown Fair. But one day, I was playing and I saw a whole bunch of new group of people, and I couldn't win a single game. But eventually I found out that they go around the United States to play in tournaments.
I didn't enter a tournament until I was 8 years old. It was this huge tournament, it was local, and I lost first round, and I went and cried to my dad and I left, because I didn't know what double elimination was.
Playing on the couch at home is one thing, but anyone who ventures into the world of tournament Street Fighter learns just how deep a fighting game can get.
When you pick up the game, we pick up Street Fighter, it's a very simple game to pick up. So anybody can just see it and be like, okay, life bars, these are my attacks that I can do. This is the space that I have to stand at to like use my attack safely.
There's execution involved. The mind games are extremely, extremely advanced. It's stuff that most people don't see. You really have to dedicate yourself to be good at fighting games. It's not simple.
Scenes and storylines were springing up all across America in the late 90s and early 2000s. But the fledgling rivalry between the East and West Coast was quickly overshadowed by a new superpower from overseas.
There was always a huge gap between Japanese players and American players, except in Marvel 2.
Since I was a Marvel player at first, I didn't really think about the whole rivalry with Street Fighter until I played like Street Fighter 3, Third Strike, and the top 8. I fought all Japanese players. They had like the execution down, they had like the really cheap strategies and everything. I really thought they were robots.
If you take like our top 5-10 players versus their top 5-10 players, it'll be close. It's just the average level is extremely high over there. I remember going to Japan around this time also, and Guilty Gear was my main game. You know, you can't see whoever is on the other side, right? And I was playing some Bridget player, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this guy would definitely get top 8 at EVO. Who am I playing? And then I go around to the other side, and it's some 14-year-old schoolgirl.
When I first went to Japan, literally every like 2-3 minutes I walked, there was an arcade filled with just people in competition. Made me realize that, damn, in Japan, when they want to do something, they really want to become the best, no matter what.
There were different levels of how much better than us there were. ST was relatively close-ish, you know. It was.
ST, I think we put up a pretty good fight at EVO. You had John Choi, Afro Cole, they won a couple EVOs against Japan players as well.
But you know, our Choi's, our Vias, our Watsons could compete. Then Alpha 3 was, okay, pretty decent gap. This is kind of getting rough. Then Third Strike, okay, this is kind of unwinnable. There was a 5-on-5, Japan versus US, and I think the score was 24-1.
Third Strike, yeah, that was like impossible.
Atop the mountain of Japanese players was Daigo Umehara, the Beast. The American champion, Justin Wong, was one of the few who could stand up to Daigo. The two would meet time and time again in some of Street Fighter's most memorable clashes.
Obviously, Daigo's like, he's the godfather of like Street Fighter.
You know, an amazing player. Some people can argue that he's the best Street Fighter player of all time.
The thing that he does is very hype moments. Sometimes he uppercuts like one of Dawson's limbs. That was the first time anyone's ever saw that. Uppercut and super it on reaction. It's like, oh, that's pretty crazy.
I played him in 2004. I didn't think much about like, okay, I gotta play Daigo. I just gotta keep winning, because before that, I fought 3 Japanese players before him, and then he did the EVO moment of 37, which like made everyone like, oh, this is the rivalry. We never thought it was a rivalry, but the community as a whole, and I guess people that watch are like, this is the rivalry.
I think Justin Daigo in Vanilla Street Fighter 4 was a really good one. Because Justin was trying Balrog, he was trying Abel, he was trying all these different things.
Now, every time they see me versus Daigo, everyone will stop what they're doing. They want to watch this.
Now hungry, and Daigo's putting under pressure.
Those 4 meters. Maybe it's time for him to use some of those EX to go through those fireballs. I don't know.
There's the throw. It's going to come right down. Is he going to go for ultra? Oh my God!
Even though we might have a language barrier, but we understand how to talk through game, I think that's like an amazing feeling that you really can't like replace.
For years, Japan reigned supreme. Their access to arcades and the sheer density of talent seemed impossible to catch up with.
It really does come down to the arcades. It's kind of like they have so many good players in such a small area and they all play with each other so consistently. If we took all of our top players back then and put them inside, a small state where they can, play all the time, I definitely think that there was a chance. There's nothing genetic that I think makes them better.
聞いていこうかと思うんですけど、波動拳発生何フレか知ってますか?
You can see it today if you watch those Topanga streams. Look at how they talk with each other and stuff. Like, oh, this beats that, this beats that. Those talks are extremely important, and they have those talks every single day with the highest tier of talent.
With the release of Street Fighter IV, the game was big and getting bigger. Online accessibility became a real possibility, but Japan was given a head start in their arcades, and defeating them seemed a Herculean task yet again.
Finds the dizzy, and that is it. Umehara moves on.
But even when Street Fighter 4 came out, America wasn't even second best. It was probably like Southeast Asia, like Gamer Bees and the ZNs. Pure Balrog always does good against Infiltration, and Infiltration will just turn it up the next tournament and counter. Like you had the Evo where he picked Hakan for the last game against Balrog.
Might be able to go to Hakan. Hakan is a hard counter to Balrog.
And Infiltration even got the crowd on his side, even though it's like USA. They just saw like, what, Hakan in top 8? That's like literally unheard of.
Goes for the overhead, great one. That could be it. That is it. Infiltration with Hakan knocking out PR Balrog. Incredible.
There was a lot of hype moments back then in Street Fighter 4. Latif's matches, Latif was a scientist. He knew every single thing. He knew players' tendencies. Anytime you see Bonchan play, in the beginning of Street Fighter 4, the guy was a powerhouse. He just destroyed so many characters. Then everybody complained, they nerfed the character. So then Bonchan stuck with the character, and he was still doing great with him.
We needed to catch up a lot for Street Fighter 4. We had good players, but they were better.
With no arcade release and full online capability, Street Fighter V finally gave the world their shot at the title.
For, actual evidence of us being probably the best, you have to look at Street Fighter 5 and you have to look at NuckleDu.
And in Street Fighter 5, I think that's when everybody was on a level playing field. There is no arcade release for Street Fighter 5, so.
Now, Japan players say that when they come over here, it's harder for them to win here than back at home.
Spearheading the new era for America is a cast of upstarts and veterans who are taking the game by storm. Players with decades of footsies under their belts find themselves losing their edge to players as young as 18.
So I do like to watch Punk just because he plays Karen, I play Karens. That's kind of my thing. I love watching also F-Champ play because I think his Dhalsim is definitely, in my opinion, the best in the world. No bias, just because I'm American. And then I definitely enjoy watching Smug play with Balrog because it's just, the damage is just insane, literally insane.
And Street Fighter 5, it's a very offensive, explosive type of game, right? And it's not too many things to find in like setups and like training mode, stuff like that. America has always been like the offensive country, they always just go in, super offensive, aggressive. There's not too many defensive players.
I think NuckleDu was the breakout, we're better, he's bodying like all these international people. It's not even close.
NuckleDu was actually really good at Street Fighter 4. He was really one of the top players. He was Capcom Cup in Street Fighter 4 as well. Street Fighter 5, I would say he had a rough beginning, but then eventually it just clicked.
My biggest accomplishment in my whole entire career was probably winning Capcom Cup. It was actually a very proud moment when I beat MOV, a Japanese player, and then as I was watching Ricky beat Haitani, it was just, I felt American flag on my back. It was just really cool.
You can get, oh, he's ready.
And Ricky takes it!
He's done it!
And we have got a all-USA winners final at Capcom Cup.
I usually don't root for players, but at Capcom Cup, I was definitely rooting for Ricky to beat, just so we could have the All-American finals.
He really took the game to a different level where people couldn't catch up.
Du and Ricky in grand finals, it showed that America was #1 in Street Fighter 5.
And the United States reigns supreme.
And then when Season 2 came out, it brought up a new young player, Punk, and he just destroyed everybody. You had Punk winning the 2 premieres, E-League.
And Punk, he's a kid, so give him some time. Let's see what he's doing in 5 years. It's not something I ever thought I'd see, honestly, because, the gaps were so big before. Everyone used to say that, oh man, they get the games early, they have better internet, they have all this stuff. If we had that, we could do it. But I think this kind of proved it,
And there's also so many CPT events around the year. America just keeps stepping it up every time.
Just when it seemed like America had claimed the throne, EVO 2017's grand finals saw the raw power of 18-year-old Punk bested by the wisdom of veteran Japanese god Tokido.
Jumped onto it. He made it the throw.
That's it! That's it! Tokido is the Evolution 2017 champion, coming all the way from losers bracket!
Tokido knocked out all 3 Americans in top 8 in a performance for the ages. It's been 20 years of struggle, triumph, and defeat for the Americans and Japanese, but the fires of rivalry have only grown hotter. To the players who have spent years grinding the game, every defeat is another lesson, another step on the road to victory.
Since Japan lost like that old school training regimen of how they train, you have like people like Momochi and Choco. They actually have a studio for people to go in there to practice together.
Like the Japanese players do, they play like 14 hours a day leading up to events, but I actually play like 2 or 3 hours per day. I feel like I get burnt out easily. Yeah, if I get bored, then it's not going to be healthy.
As gaming takes its place in popular culture, the phenomenon of esports is sweeping competitive games the world over. Street Fighter V is the biggest esport in fighting games, and the American audience is catching on, just as their star players rise to the challenge.
Oh, it's awesome to be part of the growth of esports. Right now, it's really scary since there's so much money involved and so much growth, but at the same time, you gotta be proud because it's come so far.
I love seeing this. I'm not gonna lie, I went to League of Legends Nationals at the Staples Center. And I looked around me and I'm like, we're never gonna have this. This is never gonna be us. To be at Mandalay Bay last year at EVO was the most surreal, happy experience I've ever had, just because I'm like, I was so wrong and I could not be happier.
Through boom and bust, it's been the same familiar faces and hype that make the FGC feel like home.
The best thing about like just being in FGC and what I like about the fighting games in general is I grew up playing fighting games.
It's not so much the game, it's more so that it's a family.
I made a lot of nice friends here in this community because we see each other all the time.
I put everything into this, you know? I traveled the world for it. I spent my entire life with it, and I have zero regrets because I love this family.
When I lose in Street Fighter V, it makes me want to quit. I don't go out, I go straight back to my hotel room, curl up in a ball, and wait for my flight. But when you win, it's just that high. It's the best feeling in the world. And it's the competition, the passion you see in all these gamers. It's just really admirable to see how much it means to them.
What is he gonna do?
Still fighting.
You guys are still hungry.
Every inch of the way, the man is still fighting.
Oh! Fast, and Knuckle Dude is your combo breaker 2017 champion. Man, you see his hand shaking. He was really invested in that match.
Make some noise!
Knuckle Dude.
I mean, I have to say the Justin Daigo thing. You know, that's just, it's staple. I was there, and I actually have a story about this. Earlier that day, I think Ricky had told me, or she had either played Daigo or she had watched Daigo play, and he parried Chun Super. And she actually told me that at this time. So as soon as that moment came up where you can feel that Justin's gonna do it, I'm literally yelling, don't do it, because I'm in like the second row or something. I'm like, don't do it, and then he does it, and we all know what happens.